Hi, Theodore. This is Zachary Custer, and I was reading through your post, and I really enjoyed the fact that you pulled out the importance of prayer, as well as the things that you discussed as far as being what is helpful and what is not helpful when we speak to others. The reason I wanted to reply to you is because I have a personal kind of story about prayer, but it's not necessarily like what you would think. I'm not going to tell you about a time I was miraculously healed or what someone else was. Although those things do happen, and I've witnessed some. The power of prayer in my life really came in a kind of a realization of what prayer is and what prayer isn't. I grew up in more of a fundamental Baptist church where everybody, the whole suit and tie, and if you're and there's nothing against wearing a suit and tie to church, but for me it was more of a requirement to wear something like that, and I think that that's where the lines kind of get blurred when it comes to legalism, and coming just as you are to the throne of the Lord. I feel like prayer for me was really embedded in my mind as something that was almost um, almost like a profession. It was something that had to be done a certain way, at a certain time, with certain words, and without that set of guidelines and requirements, I felt like my prayer wasn't really prayer. And it caused me to really think that, I had a really bad prayer life. And that if I'm not getting on my knees for X amount of minutes, X amount of days of the week, X amount of weeks out of the year, then I'm not doing my due diligence in my personal prayer life. And I don't know how you feel about that, but I have grown to disagree that prayer is something that is so regimented. Um, and there's a lot of biblical evidence of this in my personal opinion. Paul does talk about prayer without pray without ceasing, and that's just something that pops in my head. Obviously, we can't be on our knees 24/7, 365. But I think prayer is more so for me. It's become a state of mind. It's become a way for me to really commune with the Spirit and commune with God daily, and almost all day, just by constantly being in subtle communication with Him. I'm trying to think of like a good example what I mean by this. But you had mentioned in your post about struggling with pain, and boy, I wish I could begin to tell you, how close I can relate to this. Just I served in the military for many years. I beat up my body really bad, and I've been injured. And so pain is something that's part of my daily routine. And you know, I don't know. Maybe instead of causing me grief, instead of causing me anger, instead of just being resentful that I deal with something that most people my age don't have to deal with, I just try to remain in consistent prayer about it. Just, Lord, help me get through the next step. Real quickly, I know I'm running out of time. I just wanted to hit on something that you had stated. You talked about the main thing that you've witnessed from others that isn't helpful is when people like try to relate to your situation and they turn the conversation around on themselves. I only got like 40 some seconds left, but I wanted to just briefly say, boy, you hit the nail on the head on that. I think we got to be very careful about being able to relate to people's individual situations. When we highlight the fact that they're not the only ones that deal with it, we can come across as minimizing, and we don't want to do that. So, anyway, what I do is I try to find the common emotion, the common feeling that their situation has provoked them to feel, and I try to relate to them in that way. So, God bless, brother. Thank you for your time.